Hey Washington Commanders fans, today we've got a video packed with exciting and exclusive news that you can't miss. If you're a true fan, stick around until the end to find out everything that's happening with our team. We start with some hot news. A Cowboys star has taken a shot at our beloved coach, Dan Quinn. What did they say? And how could it affect the Commanders? You won't want to miss this. Next, we move on to draft projections. An ESPN expert has identified a prototypical left tackle who could be the key to strengthening our offensive line. Who is this player, and what can they bring to our team? Plus, there are 3 Commanders players who have had a promising start at the 2024 training camp. Who are they, and what are they doing to stand out? And finally, 4 Commanders draft picks are on the chopping block and might get cut after this year's training camp. Who are they? And what do they need to do to stay on the team? So don't go anywhere. This video is full of essential information for all Commanders fans. Let's discover it together. Let's start with some hot news. A Cowboys star has thrown shade at our beloved coach, Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn earned a second chance as head coach, thanks to his ability to transform the Dallas Cowboys defense into a top-tier unit with better schemes and exceptional leadership. Although things didn't end as the former defensive coordinator would have liked, his unit wasn't the only one to blame after their playoff collapse at home against the Green Bay Packers. Quinn is focused on what lies ahead. Those on the other side seem determined to cast shadows on their former coach and new rival in the NFC East. This might not matter much to the man now in charge of Washington, but it has definitely stirred the flames ahead of their 2 crucial division matchups in 2024. The latest jab came from veteran safety Malik Hooker. When asked about differences under Dallas's new defensive coordinator, Mike Zimmer, he mentioned there would be greater discipline in the Cowboys' performance in 2024, something he felt was lacking in Quinn's strategic plan. These past weeks with the new system and OTAs, you can feel the difference in the discipline we're going to have this year. Hooker comment, "In many of our games, we shot ourselves in the foot with penalties before the snap, giving the opposing team first opportunity." There seems to be a revisionist history in the Cowboys' comments about Quinn. For his arrival, they were a terrible unit. Cultivated talent and turned underestimated players into high-level contributors. Many players in Dallas received big contracts thanks in large part to the coach's influence. There was a lack of discipline, especially before the snap. That falls on the players more than a coaching issue. Quinn can't do much about lack of focus or mental errors. That was far from being the main catalyst for another promising season that delivered little when playoffs arrived. Quinn is unlikely to respond to these comments from Dallas. He could use them as motivation, but not much more. He appreciates his time working for Jerry Jones, but now he'll do everything possible to dethrone them and put the Commanders back on top. It's a tough challenge, but early signs are encouraging. Quinn has managed to get everyone in the Commanders to work together cohesively quickly. He has set high demands on his players, who had to learn new systems and get familiar with each other during team-organized activity. Washington's mandatory minicamp was an opportunity to see his ambitious plans come to life. Everyone needs a scapegoat, and Quinn is an easy target for the Cowboys, given that he joined one of their biggest rivals. Bringing the Commanders back to relevance will silence his critics and give Dallas a lot to think about along the way. And what do you think about these comments from the Cowboys? Do you think Dan Quinn can bring the Redskins back to the top? According to an ESPN draft expert, we could see a prototype left tackle joining the ranks of the Commanders. The Washington Commanders team is entering a new era. After a challenging season with only 4 wins and the second worst record in the league, there has been a major reorganization in coaching staff and roster. The mission is clear: leave behind the tough times and start building a winning team. Transformation process isn't immediate, but under the leadership of head coach Dan Quinn, progress is already visible. While many of the team's needs have been addressed, there are still some areas that require attention, which could be addressed in the 2025 offseason. Expectations for 2024 aren't high. Progress is anticipated as the team moves towards a brighter future. However, key areas like the offensive line need improvement. That's why ESPN draft expert Matt Miller has projected that the Commanders will select Kelvin Banks Jr., an elite offensive tackle from the Texas Longhorns, in his latest 2025 draft simulation. If the draft were tomorrow, we'd be talking about the urgent need for a left tackle and edge rusher for the Commanders, Miller wrote. That could change between now and April, but General Manager Adam Peters could definitely address blindside protection. Washington needs to protect quarterback Jayden Daniels after allowing 65 sacks last season, tied for second highest. Banks is a prototype left tackle with a powerful 324-pound frame, and in his 2 full seasons as a starter at Texas, he has allowed only 2 sacks. Protecting Daniels and giving him time to find his receivers will be crucial to the Commanders' success. They've been working on this by adding veterans to the offensive line, but ultimately, they'll want this unit to be strong and consistent. With Banks' size, strength, and technique, he would be a welcomed addition in DC. Kelvin Banks Jr. is already an accomplished college player, having been named Freshman All-American and Second-Team All-Big 12 in 2022, before earning a spot on the First-Team 2023 and being a semifinalist for the Joe Moore Award, given to the best offensive line unit in college football. Would you like to see Kelvin Banks Jr. wearing the colors of the Redskins and protecting Jayden Daniels in the future? Leave us your opinion in the comments. We can't ignore the optimism surrounding the Washington Commanders this offseason. Adam Peters has laid the groundwork for a successful future by reshaping a roster that had fallen short of expectations. Dan Quinn and his team have brought fresh energy and progressive ideas that have been well received by the players. This optimism about what this team can achieve under new leadership has been growing. This positive change was much needed. Quinn knows much more is needed for the Commanders to be competitive in 2024. How they evolve during training camp and preseason games will be a better indicator of what this group could achieve. No one expects a drastic breakthrough. There's a growing belief that something special could be brewing if the same trend continues in the coming years. The new ideas and improved strategies have elicited a positive response from everyone. Players stood out and, in some cases, thrived under the new coaching staff. This sets a solid foundation to build upon for Week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With this in mind, here are 3 Commanders players who should capitalize on their promising off-season starts during the 2024 training camp. Quan Martin, defensive back for the Commanders. The Washington Commanders didn't get much from their 2023 first-round pick, Emmanuel Forbes Jr. He seemed physically overwhelmed and couldn't translate his ball-hawking credentials to the next level. From Quan Martin's perspective, there were many more positives during his rookie season. Martin caught attention when he was given significant responsibilities in the rotation. He was gradually introduced during the early weeks of 2023. There was much to encourage during his work as a big nickel cornerback and safety presence thereafter. The former second-round pick from Illinois has a physical profile that seems tailor-made for Dan Quinn's schematic demands. His size, explosiveness, and athleticism are ready to become a major asset within enhanced schematic concepts. Martin bolstered his case by standing out during off-season workout. The defensive back continues his impressive performances throughout camp, and any repetitions he gets during the preseason, Martin promises to be a focal point in Quinn's expansive system next season and potentially beyond. Jordan McGee, linebacker for the Commanders. Adam Peters handled his first draft extremely well. The Washington Commanders had plenty of weapons at their disposal and used them effectively. They found immediate difference makers, potential franchise player, and some intriguing developmental pieces that could emerge as valuable contributors with further development. It's early, but Jordan McGee's impact during off-season workouts came with ample praise attached. The 137th overall pick is a physically imposing figure, matched athleticism. Carving out an immediate role for himself will be a challenge considering the improvements made in Washington's linebacker. He's had the best possible start. The Commanders brought in Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner to potentially dominate the second level of defense. Jamin Davis is spending more time on the edge, which could provide an opportunity for Meiji to assert himself if things go according to plan during Washington's training camp. Meiji is a sideline-to-sideline force with enough closing speed to get to the point of contact quickly. His field vision and ability to decipher plays make him an asset against the run. Once the former Temple star becomes more impactful in coverage and as a pass rusher, Commanders could have a steal on their hand. This is a positive first step for Meiji, but no more than that. Player must impress when the pads come on and prove himself worthy of increased involvement from the outset. He appears to be a rotational piece and special teams presence at this point. There's still time for that to change. Jayden Daniels, quarterback for the Commanders. The Washington Commanders ended months of speculation by selecting Jayden Daniels, the number 2 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. It was a guessing game in the media, with no leaks coming from Adam Peters' new front office in the nation's capital. However, it became clear that this was their primary target on seeing the statements made after his arrival. Daniels has everything you look for in a franchise quarterback. He's exciting, can make things happen in the passing game or on the move, and carries himself with a natural aura that his teammates naturally gravitate toward. This is something the Commanders haven't had since Robert Griffin III. Something that could propel the organization to greatness. The support system around the quarterback thrived. Heisman Trophy winner made a tremendous first impression. Daniels seamlessly adapted to a professional environment. His high performance levels during practices caught attention. Players' willingness to go above and beyond for progress earned instant respect from teammates and coaches. This was a significant first hurdle. Daniels bears the weight of expectation on his shoulders, and everyone from players to coaches around him knows it too. There's a collective mindset to make things easier for the former LSU star. After that, everything else should fall into place. Daniels' exceptional start with the Commanders only increases appetite heading into his rookie camp. It's also making those around the league take notice. According to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, some anticipate Washington could be a dangerous operation with their new man at the center. Optimism is growing. Hard work is far from over. Daniels must build upon this new momentum throughout Washington's next training camp. And when preseason games arrive, it hasn't been determined how much he'll be used in warm-up games, but getting his feet wet without anything at stake should prepare him well before competitive action. Sky's the limit for Daniels. If he thrives during camp, expectations will skyrocket. Who do you think will be the most important player of these three for the upcoming season? Leave your opinion in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel. Every day I'll bring you the summary of the most important news of the day from our beloved team, the Washington Redskins. And remember, hail to the Redskins!